What is up, everybody? This is Alex from IGTV. And I guess it's well and truly over now. As to no one's surprise, Bungie's been gutted. We've got a bunch of reactions and articles and stuff to go through and talk about. And rounding off with just a look at the numbers to make this kind of makes sense in a way that is a counter-narrative to what a lot of the, not to name names, Destiny YouTubers are saying again and again about how Sony is stupid for not greenlighting Destiny 3 because of how popular the latest update was and stuff like that, but we'll get to that in a bit. First, we can start with this one from an official SIE blog update. I'm pretty sure this is an internal email. Yeah, below is an internal email from Herman Hulst, CEO, Studio Business Group, Sony Interactive Entertainment, distributed today, that being the 25th of June. Dear team, today I wanted to share a difficult update regarding Bungie. We have made the decision to reduce Bungie's workforce, affecting a significant number of employees, including most of the Destiny team and some Marathon team members. There are also reductions across SIE teams that support Bungie's operations. Those impacted at Bungie and within SIE are being informed today. This is painful news, especially for talented colleagues whose roles have been eliminated. This decision was made only after extensive discussion and careful consideration, and I want to provide some context on how we arrived here. Over the past several months, together with Bungie leadership, we reviewed the studio's long-term direction, development priorities, resource needs, and role within our broader portfolio strategy. We explored multiple alternatives before concluding that a reduction was necessary to align the studio's resources with its current priorities and long-term goals, i.e., you are way too expensive. Oh my god, we're dying. As Bungie recently shared in its Destiny 2 update, the studio has begun a new journey following the release of the game's final live service content update. What Bungie has accomplished with Destiny over the past decade has been truly remarkable. The franchise has left a lasting mark on players in the industry, and everyone who contributed to its success should be proud of what they helped create. Marathon remains an important part of our studio, and we will continue to support the team as they build on the strong foundation established in Season 1 and 2, and as they work on incubation efforts for future projects. While it's too early to discuss, we are encouraged by the creativity and opportunities that lie ahead. Our immediate priority is supporting affected employees through this transition. We are providing transition support and, where possible, working to identify opportunities across SIE and our global network of studios. I want to sincerely thank every affected employee for their hard work, creativity, and contributions to Bungie, SIE, and the broader gaming community. I know today's news is deeply difficult, not only for those leaving, but for those colleagues and friends that remain. Please take the time you need to process this news and support one another. Thank you for your resilience and continued support during this difficult time. Herman Hulst, CEO, Studio Business Group. Wow. There it is. So a couple more details from some other places. So the studio head, Justin Truman, has stepped down from his position, according to Bloomberg. So he hadn't even been there that long. But none of the Destiny team are really necessary anymore after this last update. They've kind of just been sitting around waiting to be fired. With Paul Tassi and his insider connections estimating over 400 people being laid off, which would be around half the studio, which would still make it a fairly big studio, but nothing compared to what it was when it was at its peak during COVID. It was 1,600, 1,800, something absurd like that. So Bungie tweeted themselves. Let's see what this says. With great sadness, we are announcing a reduction in force as we reorganize Bungie. As the leaders of Bungie, past and present, we recognize Destiny 2 fell short of expectations these past several years. The amount of times they've made a post like this is actually comical. It would be funny to go back and assemble all the times that they've said something along these lines. But anyway, following our final content update to Destiny 2 and with our future projects still in early incubation, we unfortunately could not continue operating at our previous size. We know this decision has a profound impact on the people affected, their families, friends, and teammates. While these changes are necessary to best position the studio now and for the future, that does not lessen the difficulty of this moment or the impact it has on those affected. Later, we'll share more about that future with you all, but today is not that day. Today, we wish to extend our gratitude and compassion to every member of the Bungie team who has been impacted, and to those who remain, we hope you do the same. Bungie. They gotta just stop putting anything that obsessed fans can put hopium into, because Destiny 3 is not happening. And if it is, it won't be through Bungie in the way it has before. It'll be completely different. We've got the usual suspects coming in and giving their commentary. Asmongold with a very, very funny McDonald's fries in the bag joke. Very clever stuff. Bravo. Kind of a weird classist joke, the whole fries in the bag thing. It's lame, but even the White House was getting in on it. The epic memers that they are. Wow. Isn't that clever and funny? The fuck is happening? So the narrative around the game, and I know, Steam charts, you're all sick of it. I don't care. This time is actually to show off how impressive this was. The peak numbers for the last update, getting to 167,000 players, which is very good for any normal game. That's like higher than it's been in years. And it's kind of being used as evidence of, see, this is why they should make Destiny 3. And I know if they could release it like in a few months, it would be a huge success and there would be interest and people obviously want it. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen or it makes sense for Sony to greenlight it, and they're not being stupid for not cutting their losses at this point. They're not being stupid for not immediately greenlighting Destiny 3 right now. They were stupid for buying Bungie in the first place. And I don't even know what's happening with Marathon. It's kind of confusing that they're like doubling down on it. Like a 400-person team for this just doesn't seem worth it. I don't feel like the ceiling is that high for this game. I don't know, we'll see with time. And yeah, the game obviously has a big fan base. I haven't looked at change.org in a very long time, but of course there are petitions of people begging for more of it. So let's go through some numbers to kind of explain why it makes way more sense for Sony to cut their losses now than react to a stream chat on a state of play or begging to make Destiny 3 or announce Destiny 3, we want Destiny 3. They would kind of be insane to announce that now or commit to that now when you actually look at the numbers here. So there are 3 major eras of Destiny spanning the last 12 years, right? It launched in 2014. So the Activision era, the most profitable era of about $2 billion gross revenue. Then they went independent and made between, these are all estimates by the way, like just based on articles and information I could find. So take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, independent era, 1.2 billion, 1.5 billion. Then the last 4 years or so, the Sony era of about $1 billion or just shy of $1 billion, making it an enormous total of between 4 and 4.5 billion gross revenue over the course of the franchise. Very healthy, good numbers in a vacuum, but then if you put it into context, some of this stuff starts to make sense. And yeah, I put just invest is a thing I'm seeing a lot of Destiny content creators say that, well, you can't get returns if you don't invest. But they couldn't invest anymore if they bloody tried. They got swindled and humiliated by this. And here's why, right? So going back to 2022, when for some reason Sony decided to agree to $3.6 billion for the acquisition of Bungie, that being $2.4 billion for the actual sale, and then $1.2 billion committed for retention. So a bunch of the talented staff didn't immediately leave after they were purchased. So that's just the upfront costs that are already committed to this, right? So then, of course, from this point, Sony has to support them, which isn't free. In fact, it's prohibitively expensive. So they got a burn rate of about 150 to 200 million every year just to keep staff paid, office expansions, server infrastructure. So in the 4 years since the purchase, that would roughly be between 700 and 800 million to support the studio. That's not including this other stuff, so keep that in mind. Recently, Sony reported a $765 million impairment loss just for the fiscal year, in business speak admitting they paid too much originally in a panicked reaction to the Activision deal, which is exactly what happened. So what does that add up to? So just Sony's investment in this, the total cash exposure is between 4.3 and 4.4 billion estimated. So you're starting to see what like isn't adding up here? Like they got swindled. They thought that this independent era was going to maintain, and it's not like they didn't make anything. They were doing fairly well up until the final shape, but that's when everything fell apart because there was no real solid, exciting plan post that point, and then we saw the 40% drop of players. And when the money's this kind of tight, when you need to be making like this kind of money for that expenditure to make sense, it all falls apart. And here's kind of why it doesn't make sense from Sony's perspective. Like, exclusives and games they develop aren't really their moneymaker. They're more like advertisement for buying the console when they're making way more money off their rip for doing nothing on games like Fortnite or GTA. So why would they even risk investing more at this point? From this starting point now, us knowing that they don't have 3 in development in any significant way, knowing the state of the games industry, how expensive salaries are, what the cost of living in Bellevue, Washington, why would they put down another $500 million? At this point, it makes so much more sense to cut the losses and just kind of admit you've been swindled. So why not just completely close the studio? Well, ironically, the only thing protecting them is their legacy. Like, it already looks bad enough what they've gone through, and they've been closing a lot of studios left and right, but they don't need those bad optics of closing a prestige studio like that, even if they are a shadow of what they once were. So it probably does make more sense to keep it kind of a skeleton crew and keep it alive in name only. So I don't know why anyone is surprised that they suddenly went like, wow, 160,000 people played on this date with no advertising. We should sink billions more into this. this. I think that ship has sailed. So all in all, yeah, Sony got swindled and humiliated for nothing. Lol. Their whole strategy with buying the studio was stupid. The weird mass psychosis around that time of everyone being trapped inside during COVID and interest rates being nothing led to all these studios and companies being bought for these just absurd sums of money without the foresight to predict that maybe this won't be the same way forever from this point, that it's just going to keep going up forever. Like, what were you thinking? And I know it sucks to hear that, like it's not what you want to hear, but I think the business realities have kind of eradicated a chance for a real Destiny 3. And Sony are not being stupid for not greenlighting that and rushing that out. I would actually argue that they would be stupid for doing that. Let's say they did start pumping money into it, for it to get into the realm where it would be making this kind of money again would take so long that it just doesn't make sense. Like, why would they do that? Especially with the context of the last 4 years. It's not a sunken cost fallacy, it's just get out. They just got to swallow their pride, take their losses, and just kind of use Bungie as a support studio now, because they didn't even get any real dividends from the live service knowledge either. That hasn't planned out. So it's just a complete wash. It's one of the most insane transactions in the history of the games industry. It is like the modern equivalent of robbing a bank. Like, they got robbed blind, and it's absurd. So let me know your thoughts. Am I wrong? Do you think it would be smart somehow to start making Destiny 3? I don't think the Destiny YouTubers know what they're on about with that. Like, obviously they want another one because it's like their whole thing. So let me know your thoughts. See you on the next vid.